only thing you have to switch around is the harness.
Next to that is our gauge power for all our AM gauges. We have if.
The numbers can get kind of weird, but I put the wheel back a little bit. All right, it's a Friday evening and I'm out here with my Drift Spec 240SX. It's a 1995 240SX Zinke S14, all the good details about it. These cars are getting a lot of hype recently. I'm sure you're wondering, is this a good drift car? Why does everybody say they're shit boxes? So I'm gonna talk about it today. I'm gonna talk about the good, the bad, pros, the cons, what I love, what I hate about this car. We're going over everything. So first, we're gonna start with the pros. On other cars, there's a lot of stuff you have to do. On this car, you can kind of just coil over seat, get in and drift. From the factory, they come with a good amount of caster setup, so you'll get a lot of self-steering and it's great for beginners. That's one thing I loved about this car. I hopped in it in my first street session, my first shakedown. I was able to do a little bit of something. I wasn't throwing the car, I didn't feel uncomfortable. It was just great overall in terms of handling and everything else. I know some of you guys have played COD and Apex, and the S chassis is basically like the meta car for drifting. You guys know how there's like meta weapons. S chassis is like the meta car. You can just really hop in most of them and just go. The second pro about the S14 is that I can get parts from so many different companies, so many different places, and there's never a shortage. It's never hard to find anything for this car. Aero, there's so much aero. I'm running an Origin full kit, which is front and rear bumper, side skirts. I have Modelo front fenders. I have charge speed rear overs. The market is crazy. The amount of things you can buy for the 240, it has arguably the biggest parts market of every car in existence. I think Honda is above it, but obviously that's Honda. So the second pro of having an S14 is that you can find parts, replacement stuff anywhere you go. Another pro, the SR20 came factory in Japan, so it's a direct bolt in, and the only thing you have to switch around is the harness. Everything else bolts directly in. So KA and SR are technically the same thing. You don't have to bang out the trans tunnel or do anything crazy to fit your SR. If you guys have ever done an engine swap in a car that's not supposed to take that motor, you'll see how difficult it is. Every corner you're having to bang something out, buy a new part, get custom parts, adapters. The SR drops right in. That's my third pro. Interchangeability between the SR and the KA. You can go KA, you can go KAT, you can go SR20DE, SR20 DET. It just makes working on your car so much easier when you can just swap a motor right in and it bolts right up. The last and final pro has to be the saturation of the market. I've made so many friends and so many connections having this car, it's insane. So that's my biggest, best, and final pro. And now we're gonna get into the cons, which is gonna be a long list. This is what you guys wanted, so let's do it. Best part about the con list is this is from actual experience. They're not opinions, they're facts. It is based on my setup, my spec S14, but these floor mats, because the car is completely gutted, they just slide around. So on track days, driver's side mat has to come out and you get a floor like this. And the issue here, when you have an empty floor without a mat, the exhaust that runs right here heats this part of the car up so much that it actually hurts my foot. So that is a big con, and in the future, yes, we're gonna be doing some heat shielding down here just to prevent and help against that. I don't wanna run with the mat in. I've done it before. It gets lodged very bad because this is meant to sit on top of carpet that's already there, and we don't have that. That's my biggest con that stops me from hot lapping at the track, because I literally have to step out of the car or my foot burns. It's a 240. You guys already know it makes a ton of clunky sounds, no AC, no radio. I guess you can't really call those cons because I love hearing the car and how it sounds like. It is very loud and straight piped. These are a little bit opinionated because some people love that stuff. Because this is an old car and a drift car, those two combinations aren't always the best. You can see this is going crazy. The fitment's insane. The rad support is broken just from constant abuse on this car. A huge con that is overlooked is these cars will have problems. Now my S14, for example, doesn't have too many issues, but that's because I spent 4 years touching every corner, every crevice of the car and basically fixing up all the problems. But over time, it's an old car. You're gonna find something almost every month. Over time, you're gonna fix those things and it will become a reliable 240. But to begin with, when you buy one, expect it to have issues that come up out of nowhere. That's just the reality of owning a car that is 30 plus years old. Something is always gonna break, but you just keep fixing the things that break and eventually you'll have a car that's pretty reliable. And for the biggest con of them all, I'm gonna give you guys this reveal. I don't talk about it a lot. I paid $2,500 for my S14 back in 2019 and $2,500 for my full SR20 swap, everything included. And these cars are like 10 to 20,000 now, with SR swaps ranging from $6,000 to $9,000. That is the biggest con of them all when it comes to owning a 240, because if the prices were the same as they were in 2019, this would be the best car on the planet. I got some cool clips for you guys. I got some drifting. If you want to see that, continue watching. If you're liking the content, hit subscribe, hit the like button. I just wanted to run down a quick pros and cons just to give you guys an idea out there whether or not the 240SX is a good platform to start drifting with. It is. It's an amazing platform. The only con in reality is the pricing of everything right now with the market. That's it for the pros and cons list. Let's do some driving.
If you guys are new to the channel, Real quick, I just want to show you my startup sequence on the S14. So obviously make sure it's a neutral. Far right is our main power switch. Next to that is our alternator and our ECU power. Next to that is our gauge power for all our AEM gauges. We have AFR, oil pressure, and water temp, as well as a tach that is not working. Thank you, Glow Shift. Just joking. Thank you, MSD, because the tach pickup went bad. And far left is our fuel. Once again, neutral. Hit our fuel. We're gonna get out of here.
I'm sweating. We are back to normal Florida weather, so it's burning hot in Florida. S14's behind me. I'm just giving this disclaimer now. I'll be sweating throughout this entire video. Yeah, these last couple weeks have been jam-packed. I haven't been able to really film as much as I would like. The S14 does have new parts put on. It's got new settings, has adjustments. I haven't gone into detail. Last video was raw drifting at OSW, which was really a shakedown more than an event. If you guys haven't seen that, I'll put a card at the top of the screen. Just click on that, watch it, come back here. Or not, up to you, but if you want to hear raw SR20 sounds. Some cool entries. Go ahead and watch that. First time drifting at OSW, pretty fun. We did a ton to this car to prep for OSW, and the funny thing is we have a ton more to do because we have another P day coming up. That's going to be April 13th. It's going to be on a Saturday, and then the weekend after that we have another drift event. So it's going to be back to back, and there's actually some big things we need to do to the car. The transmission needs to be dropped out of the S14, but let's talk about what I did to the car already for the previous drift day, which if you watched, you watch. If you haven't, watch it come back. You've seen cars that drive themselves, and you've seen Japanese style cars that flick and are super aggressive and snappy. Obviously the style I want is aggressive and snappy. I've been working towards that. I've been talking for a while about doing a caster change on the car, and the numbers can get pretty weird, especially when you have aftermarket wheels and spacers and you put it on an alignment rack. So basically, the closer you are to vertical, the snappier the car is. The further forward you push the wheel, the more it will self-steer, and the steering wheel gets heavier the further forward the wheel is, lighter the further back. I pushed this back a degree, which the numbers can get kind of weird, but I put the wheel back a little bit in the perfect spot because it just barely clears in the back, just barely clears in the front. And obviously when you really get into setup, you have to start banging out the wheel wells and making more clearance and stuff. So on top of adjusting that, I got GK Tech tension arms, and these are the bent version arms. So when I do add angle in the future, I won't have to worry about clearance issues. They had more adjustability for me to push the wheel back more than the Tane rods did. That's the reason I got them. So we put those on, redid the alignment, verified the rear, adjusted caster in the front. I ended up putting my side skirts in the front so I can clear because the wheel was gonna run into it and hit it. Because instead of the wheel kind of pivoting like this, it pivots like this due to the large 2-inch spacer that we put in the front. Right now, because we're dropping the trans, this car's probably gonna be sitting and just have a lot of stuff taken off of it.